This is about the disenfranchisement of U.S. citizens who are trying to vote fairly and legally in this country. And it appears Democrats who want to make sure people who cannot legally vote have the opportunity to do so. All right, we have some really positive and breaking news, actually, out of the United States Supreme Court. It was announced by Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares. Take a look at this. The Supreme Court has agreed with the state of Virginia. The Supreme Court granted Virginia's emergency stay to keep non-citizens off the voter rolls. That's right. I'm sure you've been tracking this. We've mentioned it a couple of times on the show. But what happened was the state of Virginia, they were following a state law that's been in place since 2006. It was signed into law by Tim Kaine, now the Democrat senator from Virginia, at the time the Democrat governor. That's right. This was signed in by Democrats that would mandated that the state of Virginia on a routine, regular basis go through the voter rolls and remove anybody who is a non-citizen, anybody who shouldn't be on the voter rolls. Now, these are people who have actually self-identified as a non-citizen of the United States of America. So they've actually said, it's not like we've been knocking on people's doors saying, show me your papers or I'm going to take you off the voter rolls. No, these are people who have actually proactively told the state of Virginia that they are not citizens. And so the state of Virginia said, oh, okay, let's take you off the voter roll then, so there's no mistakes made, so that there's no vote cast in your name, or God forbid, you break the law another time and you vote. So Governor Glenn Youngkin and Attorney General Jason Miyares, they went through the legal and mandated process, Virginia state law, of purging the voter rolls of these people. And Joe Biden's Justice Department sued the state of Virginia for doing that. And by the way, this was a law that was already screened and approved by the Justice Department. You know, a lot of times, especially states in the South, coming off of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act of the 60s, they have provisions in their state constitutions or in their state statutes that whenever they cast any new laws that involve the voter rolls and requirements for voting, they have to get that stamp of approval from the Justice Department. It goes back all the way to the segregationist days when Democrats ran the states in the South. And you know how racist Democrats are. They had racist laws that kept Black people from voting. So because of all those racist Democrats in the racist Democrat Party that passed those racist laws, well, now Southern states have to get these things cleared. Of course, now Republicans pretty much run those states, and they're not passing anything racist because they're Republicans. They don't have a track record like that. Republicans, you know, we're the party of Lincoln. We fought to free the slaves. All right, I digress. This law was already cleared and approved by the federal government and the Justice Department in 2006 when it was passed. But Joe Biden and Merrick Garland sued because, and I can only assume that this is their reason, they want to make sure that non-citizens can vote. I mean, they offered a different argument. Their argument was laughable, though. Their argument was that since the time these people registered to vote as non-citizens, and today they may have become naturalized citizens, and so you'll be removing them from the voter rolls, and now they won't be able to vote. And so because that may have happened, we can't take anyone off the voter rolls. Of course, in the state of Virginia, if you show up to vote and you are a citizen and your name is not on the voter roll, that's fine. You can cast a provisional ballot. So no one was going to get turned away from voting, but it doesn't matter because Joe Biden and Merrick Garland want to make sure that non-citizens can vote. So the state of Virginia challenged this, and an appeals court upheld the Justice Department's decision. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And this morning, here was the decision. It was Beal Susan et al. Versus the Virginia Coalition for Immigrant Rights et al. The application for stay presented to the Chief Justice and by him referred to the court is granted. The October 25th order of the United States District Court of the Eastern District of Virginia is stayed pending the disposition of the appeal in the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit and disposition of a petition for writ of credit. Bottom line is the good guys won, and Virginia can go ahead and purge the names of non-citizens off the voter rolls leading into the election. By the way, it should be noted that Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson were against this decision. Democrat nominees. The 6 Republican nominees actually had some common sense, and they care about fairness and actually making sure that people are not disenfranchised. Oh, that's right. That's what I said. They want to make sure that actual legal citizens and legal voters are not disenfranchised. Because if I'm a citizen and I vote in Virginia and I vote for Donald Trump, and then a non citizen, someone who should not legally be allowed to vote, shows up and they vote for Kamala Harris, well, that Kamala Harris vote has now negated my Donald Trump vote. That person shouldn't have been allowed to vote. I am a legal citizen and my vote is legal. I've been disenfranchised. My vote no longer counts because of that illegal vote. This is about the disenfranchisement of U.S. citizens who are trying to vote fairly and legally in this country. And it appears Democrats who want to make sure people who cannot legally vote have the opportunity to do so. Donald Trump talked about this outrageous move by the Biden administration earlier in the campaign trail. I want you to see what he had to say about it.
And it just came down in Virginia, illegally allowing non-citizens to vote in our elections. In fact, a poll came out, 87% of the people disagree, so that's pretty good amount, isn't it, Ted, huh? The outrageous decision goes against the very bedrock of our democracy, and thankfully, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who's doing a terrific job, is working hard to fix this problem. They found thousands of illegal votes, and the judge said, you didn't do it in a timely fashion. They did it a long time ago. As legal scholar Andy McCarthy just said, and very correctly, how can non-citizens be allowed on the voter rolls if their voting is a federal crime? Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley, 2 great guys, by the way, also notes that it is a crime to be a non-citizen voter. Removing illegal voters off the voting roll should be a big priority for this country, and yet instead we're scorned by a judge. This is blatantly un-American, and it's election interference, and Kamala Harris is behind it very much. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And obviously, I mean, it's up to the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, but I assume they're going to be appealing it. I think he's going to. And they feel very strongly about it. So we'll see how it goes. But you have to get the confidence going for elections when you have decisions coming down like that, where they allow people to vote that blatantly aren't qualified to vote. It's pretty sad for our country. We have enough problems with the elections.
Yeah, and that last part that he made here, it's such an important point that I hope you all sort of take this in and you're able to convey this when you have your Thanksgiving dinner and people are, screaming about how the election went and they're all feeling like they were robbed. No matter who, here's the thing, no matter who loses this election, they're going to feel like it was stolen. That's the sad reality that we live in right now. And it is so insidious and so destructive to the democratic process that we use to choose our representatives in this constitutional republic. It undermines everything in our system. And Democrats and the decisions that they have made and the way they react to objections to the decisions that they've made and their objections to any efforts to instill voter integrity in our process by calling it racist and disenfranchisement and Jim Crow on steroids. They have created this environment. And by the way, also the insistence on all these mail-in ballots and the drop boxes that are unsecure and the ability to count ballots without a postmark. That's the latest out of Nevada, that a Supreme Court of Nevada just ruled that a ballot showing up 3 days after Election Day without a postmark must be counted as a ballot. For God's sake, do the math here on how the system can be gamed and how cheating can occur with those kind of rules. And by constantly moving these decisions forward that undermine basic logical election security protocols, they have created an environment where at the end of the election, whoever loses feels like it wasn't fair, that it was a fraud, and they got robbed. And that nothing undermines our democratic process in this country, of this constitutional republic, more than that. It's like they want us at each other's throats. It's like they want whoever becomes a president to have half of the people think that they're illegitimate. It is despicable. It's disgusting. And we've got to get past this. I honestly, I care who wins an election, but I care more that everybody walks away saying, okay, listen, we lost, but at least I know they didn't cheat. At least I know it was fair. And these thousands of non-citizens who are on the voter rolls in Virginia, let me tell you something. Why do you think Biden and Harris and Merrick Garland care so much about Virginia? Virginia has voted for the Democrat since 2008. It's been a blue state since 2008. Why are they suddenly so worried about Virginia? Why are they making sure that these non-citizens are on the voter rolls in Virginia? Last poll I saw, Kamala Harris is only winning by 2 points in Virginia. I'm not saying that Trump's going to win Virginia, but Virginia's going to be way closer than anybody's thinking out there. And who knows, 6,000 non-citizens taken off the voter rolls could very well make the difference. You just heard Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, mentioned. He talked about this the other day as well when this court decision came down. I want you to hear what he had to say.
Yeah, Harris, this is a stunning ruling by a federal judge who is ordering Virginia to reinstate individuals who have self-identified as non-citizens back on the voter rolls. And what's even more astounding is the vast majority of these folks had presented immigration documents confirming that they were non-citizens, and we recently had that verified by federal authorities. So here we are with a judge saying, put people back on the voter rolls who you know are non-citizens. And this is under a law in Virginia that's been in effect since 2006. It has been applied by Republican and Democrat governors alike into this 90-day period. And here we are 11 days before a presidential election, and a federal judge is ordering them back on the voter rolls. It's astounding to me that this could possibly happen. I mean, listen, common sense says non-citizens aren't on the voter rolls, but the Constitution and the law say it as well. And that's why we are immediately petitioning the Fourth Circuit for an emergency stay here on this injunction. And we will immediately go to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary.
Look, and that's exactly what they did. And once again, to repeat the big breaking news, the Supreme Court just, 2.5 hours ago came down with a decision. Non-citizens will not be on the voter rolls on election day in Virginia. And my favorite part of what Glenn Youngkin said right there is this: common sense says that this is what should be done. And by the way, the Constitution and U.S. and Virginia state law say that this is how it should be. But this is part of the problem here with all these decisions and all of these rules and all these voting laws, is that they all defy common sense. And when you point out that it doesn't make any sense, that it defies common sense, they call you racist. Or they call you a conspiracy theorist. And they tell you that, so you think that this is all about, stealing an election and stuff in the bad. There's no evidence that it's like, well, of course you don't have any evidence of it. People commit crimes all the time without any evidence. This has been a challenge for Republicans in this election cycle. And we're going to close up with this point. And it has to do with the fact that some of the things where the Democrat Party is right now, where Kamala Harris is right now, and Joe Biden, and just the hierarchy of the Democrat agenda, the Democratic Party, and the propagandist in the news media, as well as the pop culture media and the late night shows, Saturday Night Live, whatever. What they're pushing right now is so outrageous and so literally unbelievable that when Republicans say, they'll do this and they'll do this and they'll do this, like, they're going to put pornographic books. They want to put gay porn, explicit gay porn, like graphic novels with pictures of fellatio and such between children. They want those books to be in kids' public libraries, in like a 7th grade class. They want those books. And most people hear that and it's like, well, that's outrageous. Of course they don't. That's a lie. That can't be true. That can't be fake news. Take a look at this article. This was from, I think this was from, I'm not sure what publication it was. I'm sorry. Here, the same GOP staffer who's currently working on a competitive congressional race told me that one problem his campaign regularly faces is that aspects of Democratic governance are simply too insane for voters to find credible, even when they are documented as official U.S. government policy. Quote, when you outline the Democratic agenda, you have to water it down a little because in polling and focus groups, people just don't believe it. They're critical of things like boys and girls sports, but they tune out stuff about schools not informing parents about transitioning their children. They just don't believe it's true. It can't be. When you say, the Democrats want to make it so that a teacher has to keep a secret of a sexual nature from a parent about that child changing their gender. They don't believe it. The Democrats want to, it is law in California right now. If a parent calls a teacher and says, I've noticed my child is acting strangely, I am worried about them. Is there something I should know? Have you noticed anything at school? That teacher knows that that child, when she comes to school, is transitioning to a boy and using a boy's name and dressing in boys' clothing. And that teacher is prohibited from telling a loving, caring parent who wants to know what's going on with their child. That teacher is prohibited from telling the truth. In fact, state law in California mandates that that teacher lie to the parent. Think about that. And it is unbelievable. When you say to a voter, Democrats want to keep non-citizens on the voter rolls. They want non-citizens to be able to vote. They don't want them purged off. They just took it to the Supreme Court to keep non-citizens on the voter rolls. Your average voter is going to say, well, that can't be true. That's a lie. There goes Trump lying again. That can't be true. When you go to a voter and you say Kamala Harris took taxpayer dollars and paid for transgender surgeries for convicted felons and has said she wants to do the same for illegal immigrants in the country illegally so that they can have a sexual transition medical procedure, most voters are going to say that's impossible. There's no way. I know she's crazy. I know she's a left-wing liberal, but you're lying to me. And it's all true. It's all true. And so what do? You're a Republican and you're trying to make the case about how off the deep end they are. And you lay it all out there. You could even show them documentation. Say, I don't believe it. Because it is unbelievable. And this is the biggest challenge for Republicans in this election cycle. And this is a perfect example of it. No voter ID. And in fact, if you are a non-citizen and you would register to vote, which, by the way, is illegal. It's illegal even to register to vote if you're a non-citizen. Not only do they not want you to prosecute that person and fine them and deport them for breaking the law multiple times, but they also want to keep their name on the voter roll, just in case. Just in case. We might need to find a few votes at the last minute. Allegedly.